My 17-year-old daughter worked tirelessly to earn a full-ride scholarship. Then my sister and parents deliberately took it from her. It's for the good of the family, they said. I didn't yell. I simply acted. 3 days later, the police were knocking on their door. You'd think I would have recognized a storm coming when it arrived in a plain white envelope. But no, I assumed it was a dorm room assignment, a parking pass, or maybe something dull like a student ID update. The sort of mail you leave out for your kid to open because it's theirs, and you're trying to be the relaxed, supportive parent, not the overly involved one. I didn't open it. I set it on the kitchen counter, smiled at my daughter Ruby, scholarship recipient, miracle in secondhand jeans, and said, "Hey, you got some mail." She glanced at it once and went silent. The envelope was thin, cheap, definitely not the kind of packaging that screams, "Congratulations." More like, "Please complete this form," or "Notice of insurance lapse." Ruby didn't say a word. She picked it up, walked quietly down the hall, and vanished into her room. I went back to stirring dinner. Pasta, I think. I can't quite remember because that's when I heard her say, "Mom." Her voice cracked, sharp and sudden, like a branch snapping under pressure. I turned off the stove and followed her voice down the hallway. The door was ajar. She sat hunched on the edge of her bed, clutching the letter like it might burst into flames if she let go. She didn't say a word, just handed it to me. I had to read it twice before it sank in. "We acknowledge your decision to decline the scholarship. Your award has been given to the next qualifying candidate." I let out a laugh, but not a happy one. It was the kind of breathless, disbelieving laugh that bursts out when your brain can't quite compute what it's reading. I turned to Ruby. "You didn't decline anything, right?" She shook her head slowly, fists clenched so tight I thought she might bruise her own skin. Her eyes were already filled with tears. "No," she whispered. "Why would I do that?" There was no doubt in my mind. Ruby had cried tears of joy when she got the acceptance. She'd baked brownies for the admissions committee, despite them being hundreds of miles away. She even framed the acceptance email. Declining that scholarship? That would be like torching a winning lottery ticket. I grabbed my phone and dialed the number listed on the letter, the financial aid office. I didn't even bother with pleasantries. While I was on hold, enduring some looping violin nightmare, Ruby sat beside me, stunned. No more tears, just frozen disbelief. Finally, someone answered. "This is Megan. How can I assist you?" I didn't waste time. "We just received a letter claiming my daughter turned down her scholarship. That's a mistake. She never did that." She didn't hesitate. "May I have her student ID number?" I gave it to her. I imagined the slow click of betrayal with every keystroke. "We received a formal email from her registered address last week," Megan said. "The withdrawal has already been processed. The scholarship's been awarded to another student." My throat went dry. "I'm sorry, what?" "The email came from the address we have on file," she continued. "It was sent Monday night at 7:47 p.m. Ruby turned toward me, her head tilting slightly, like someone had just slapped her across the face. "I'm going to need you to read that address back to me," I said. Megan did. Ruby's face went white. "That's my email," she said. "But I didn't send anything. I'm going to need a copy of that email." I said to Megan, "Can you send it to me? We can forward the message to the same address it came from." "Yes," she replied. "Of course, perfect." They were forwarding a fraudulent email to the exact account it had been sent from, where the real owner never saw it, and then she added the kicker. Sometimes, students change their minds. If she had second thoughts, we can't just undo it now, especially after it's been reassigned. She didn't withdraw. Megan didn't flinch. Or if she did, I didn't hear it. She just went on perky and professional. "If you believe there was an error, you're welcome to file a formal complaint, but once reassigned, it's rarely reversible. Who got it?" I asked. "Who was the next candidate? I'm sorry, we can't disclose that." Of course they couldn't. We hung up. Ruby didn't cry. Not right away. She just stared at the wall. Like it might blink first. Then she said quietly, "I almost believed it. Thought it was real, but of course not. It was too good to be true. It broke something in me, not because she was wrong, but because she'd said it like she'd known all along, like part of her had been waiting for the world to snatch it back." I put my arm around her. "We'll find a way," I said. But even as I said it, my voice shook because I didn't know how we'd scraped by on part-time contracts. In faith for years, this scholarship wasn't a bonus, it was the only plan, and somewhere someone had stolen it, using my daughter's identity. The forwarded email hadn't arrived yet, but when it did, we'd know more. I didn't want to believe what my gut was already whispering. But the timestamp, the email, the fact that it had come from her own account. Something was wrong, terribly, deliberately wrong, and someone was behind it. I don't know what I expected to feel, standing there in the living room, waiting for a fraudulent email to arrive. Probably not murderous. It wasn't just that someone had stolen my daughter's scholarship, it was how they did it. The sheer coldness of pretending to be her, typing out a withdrawal message like it was nothing. Then hitting send and watching her future collapse like a house of cards. And they did it from her own account, her own email, her identity, the screenshot, was still on its way. Ruby was checking her inbox every 3 minutes. I was pacing like a caged animal, chewing a cuticle I didn't even realize was bleeding. Neither of us said much. What could we say? We were still hoping it was a mix-up, a weird glitch, something dumb and technical and fixable. But somewhere in the back of my mind, the pieces were already lining up, and they weren't forming a glitch. They were forming her Vivian. I didn't want to go there yet, so instead I did what moms do when they're losing control. I rewound the tape and tried to explain it to myself. I grew up 2 years ahead of my sister, which is just close enough to be compared at every possible stage of your life. Vivian was the golden one. Not obviously our parents weren't cartoon villains or anything, but there was always a second set of rules that followed her around. If I forgot to take out the trash, I was lazy. If she forgot, someone must have distracted her. If she cried, she was sensitive and needed comforting. If I cried, I was dramatic, and if we fought, well, don't use your little sister as an excuse. She's younger. You should know better. I learned early that protesting made things worse, so I stopped. Let her have the last cookie, the benefit of the doubt, the spotlight, fine, whatever. I built my life outside the favoritism radius. We both grew up, had daughters at almost the same time. And for a while, I let myself believe things were different. Ruby and Chloe were close, like genuinely close. Same school. Same after-school programs, same goofy photos and matching pajamas. We raced them side by side, lived in the same town, shared babysitting recipes, holiday tables. Our parents doted on them both, or almost both. It was subtle like everything else. Ruby got praised for her kindness. Chloe got praised for her spark. Ruby was responsible. Chloe was a natural leader. Ruby did the dishes after family dinner. Chloe made everyone laugh and forgot the dishes, and somehow that was just as valuable. And when Chloe messed up when she got caught, cheating on a vocab quiz or snapped at a teacher, it was stress, pressure, teenage hormones when Ruby cried. After a bad day, sensitive, needs to toughen up. So I brushed it off. They were kids, and the girls loved each other. Chloe came over for sleepovers. Ruby helped her with homework. They swapped books and inside jokes and shared Spotify playlists like a pair of nerdy twins. Ruby even helped Chloe with her scholarship essays because, yeah, both girls applied for the same full-ride program. It was a long shot, national competitive. We all knew there were tens of thousands of applicants and maybe 50 spots, but they went for it together side by side, cheering each other on when the acceptance came through for Ruby. I screamed, then I cried, then I panicked a little because I realized she might actually be leaving and I wasn't ready. But Ruby didn't do any of that. She just sat there quietly and said, "But what about Chloe?" I told her the truth. "Chloe will be okay. This is your moment." A few days later, Chloe got her reply. "We waitlisted. You're first in line if someone drops out, which, let's be honest, is academic speak for don't get your hopes up unless someone dies." Ruby almost didn't want to celebrate it. Just feels mean. Like I'm gloating, I told her. "You earned this. And Chloe's proud of you." And it seemed like she was. He came to the graduation party, just a quiet one at our house, nothing fancy. She hugged Ruby, told her, "I'm happy for you. At least one of us made it." I thought that was the end of it, that we'd all move on. I didn't realize that would be the night everything started unraveling. The ping of an incoming email yanked me back into the present. Ruby opened it, forwarded message, scholarship, withdrawal, sent from her account. Timestamped Monday, 7:48 p. We both stared at the number. She blinked. That was the night of the party. We looked at the calendar. We looked at the clock on the screen. We didn't speak. Ruby's eyes darted. Her hands were shaking again. "It was her," she whispered. "It was Chloe." My heart dropped into my stomach. "What do you mean?" Ruby looked at me like she was watching herself. Realize it for the first time, she asked to borrow my phone. She said hers was dead and she needed to call her boyfriend. Pause. I unlocked it for her. Longer pause. She was gone for 10 minutes. I didn't breathe, neither did she. We just sat there in the quiet of that realization, watching the floor like it might offer a solution. I remembered watching them laugh together that night. I remembered Ruby doing Chloe's makeup, helping her pick out a dress, offering to take photos on the good phone so Chloe would have better lighting. Ruby let her borrow her clothes, let her borrow her confidence, let her borrow her trust and her phone. She didn't stab her in the back, she borrowed the knife. There's a kind of silence that comes after betrayal, not the calm kind, the loaded kind, the kind where even your thoughts are whispering because they don't want to make it worse. That was our house the night Ruby remembered she sat curled up on the couch, staring straight ahead like she was watching her whole life. Rerun through static. I sat across from her holding the email, the one she supposedly sent from her phone, sent while her cousin was borrowing it to call her boyfriend. The timestamp lined up. The tone lined up, the gut punch lined up. Only one thing. Didn't the fact that Ruby never wrote it, she finally broke the silence, well, never be able to prove it? Her voice cracked, like it had given up too. She sent it from my phone, there's no chance. I looked at her, and maybe it was the deadness in her voice or the way her shoulders had collapsed into themselves, but something in me snapped. Then we find a way. I didn't tell Ruby I was going to see my sister Vivian. She didn't need to know. Not yet. I just said I had errands to run and grabbed the car keys like it was a normal Tuesday. Like I wasn't driving across town to look my sister in the eye and ask her if she'd help destroy my daughter's future the entire drive. I rehearsed what I'd say, factual, no accusations. I'd ask questions. I'd give her the benefit of the doubt, and then she opened the door with a smile like nothing had happened, and every ounce of restraint I had fell into the driveway. "Hey," she said, "what's up?" I held up my phone. She stepped aside, letting me into the house. I didn't take a seat. I stood stiffly in her kitchen, like someone collecting on a long overdue debt. "This came from Ruby's email at 7:48 p.m., I said. Same night as her graduation party. Same time Chloe borrowed her phone. Vivian glanced down at the screen, then smiled faintly. "Are you sure it wasn't just Ruby?" I fixed my eyes on her. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't confused at all. She was stalling. "She helped your daughter with her college essays," I said slowly. "Let her borrow her clothes. Let her borrow her phone. And now Ruby's scholarship is gone." Vivian gave a little shrug. Just like that. A shrug. "When your daughter was helping mine, it wasn't really help, was it?" I continued. She already knew they were competing before Chloe even realized it. I blinked in disbelief. "I'm sorry. What?" "She kept saying how guilty she felt that Chloe didn't get in," Vivian said casually. "Why would she feel guilty if she hadn't done something wrong?" It was like watching her through a layer of glass. Like I was stuck in one of those dreams where nothing adds up and the ground could drop away at any second. "What are you trying to say?" I asked. She leaned back against the counter. "Nothing. Just that the winner's the one who gets the last word." That was it. The moment I knew. She hadn't just let it happen. She'd actively helped. And if Chloe was clever enough to send that email and not get caught, then Vivian was sharp enough to cover her tracks. But there was one thing even Vivian hadn't anticipated. I'm a mom, and we don't forget anything. The realization came while I was washing my hands. Our backyard security camera. Motion activated. Full audio. Chloe had stepped outside during the party, saying she needed a quiet spot to call her boyfriend. She hadn't gone far with Ruby's phone, just out onto the patio, just long enough. I opened the camera app. There she was, Chloe walking out the back door, phone in hand. 7:46 p.m. You couldn't see clearly that it was Ruby's phone, not in the video, but one thing was obvious. It wasn't Chloe's. Different make, wrong case. Definitely not the one she always carried. She stared at the screen for a bit, tapped a few times, then made a call. 7:50 p.m. She walked in a slow circle, laughed, said, "Yeah, I'll let you know," and strolled back inside. Ruby's phone log confirmed it. One outgoing call to Chloe's boyfriend made moments after the email had been sent. She'd sent the email and followed it up with the call, one action to conceal the other. It wasn't quite a smoking gun, but it was close enough to load one. I showed everything to Ruby, the video, the timestamp, the phone log. She sat motionless, hands folded in her lap. "It won't matter," she murmured. "They'll just say I let her send it, or that I changed my mind and now I'm trying to blame her." She was right. That's exactly what they'd say. So I didn't argue. I turned to the kitchen table and opened my laptop. "What are you doing?" she asked. "I'm filing a complaint with the university." She stared. "And after that?" "I'm filing a police report." "Impersonation, fraud, academic sabotage," I said. "Call it whatever you want. But it was theft. They didn't just take her phone, they stole her future." I uploaded the footage, attached screenshots, filled in the timeline, and then picked up my phone to call the local police department's non-emergency line. "I'd like to report impersonation and digital fraud," I said. "Who's the victim?" "My daughter. She's 17, and she didn't just lose a scholarship, she was targeted." I didn't cry that night. Ruby went to bed early. I tucked her in like she was 5 again. Kissed her forehead, told her it wasn't over. Then I sat in the kitchen with a cup of coffee I didn't drink and watched the status bar on the university portal spin in place. "We've done everything we could," I whispered. "Now it's up to them." But the truth, I wasn't waiting. I was getting ready. You'd think by this point I'd be used to betrayal, that there'd be some emotional scar tissue, that after watching my daughter's scholarship get stolen in slow motion by people we trusted, nothing could really surprise me anymore. But that's the funny thing about damage. It never breaks the same place twice. And the worst crack was still coming. I didn't know it yet. I thought the damage had already been done 3 days after I filed the reports. My phone rang, no greeting, no preamble, just Vivin. "You sent the police to my house." Her voice was sharp and steady, not shaken, not wounded, just controlled rage. The kind people save for property damage or parking tickets, not fraud. "You think that's how you handle something like this, by involving strangers?" I opened my mouth, closed it again. There was no point reminding her that I had come to her first. She wasn't interested in facts. He wanted outrage. "Chloe's been crying you." "Scared mom. She thought someone had died, and you didn't even have the decency to warn us. You just made us a public spectacle." I leaned back against the kitchen counter and looked at the tile. One of the corners was cracked. "Just like this conversation. I have to go," I said. I hung up before she could answer. And then I stood there for another full minute holding my phone like it might vibrate back into meaning. "Mom and Dad were there," I whispered. Ruby was in the next room, refreshing her inbox. The university still hadn't replied. She looked up. "What?" "Nothing," I lied. "Get your shoes." "We're going to see Grandma and Grandpa." She blinked. "Yeah, we brought pancakes because we were the type of people who brought pancakes to a confrontation because Ruby believed they would listen if we were calm. Because I believed, at least half-dilutedly, that our only challenge would be convincing them that if we just walked them through it gently, they'd understand, they'd take our side, they'd be shocked. They'd hold Ruby and say, "We didn't know, we're so sorry, God, we were stupid." They greeted us like it was any other morning, puffy hugs. My mom commented on Ruby's new shoes. My dad asked if we wanted orange juice. We sat at the kitchen table. I pulled out the folder. "Before we say anything else, we need you to look at this." They did quietly, with too much composure, first the email, then the timestamp, then the security footage of Chloe outside with Ruby's phone, the call log. Every page in order. Ruby sat beside me, hands folded, knuckles white. She looked like she was trying not to breathe too loudly. When my mother finally spoke, she didn't look at me. She looked at Ruby. "She's just a child." That's when I knew something was wrong. "She's 17, I said, "and she committed fraud." My father set down the papers. "She made a mistake, maybe a poor decision, but she's a good kid." I blinked. "You think she did it?" They looked at each other, then back at me. "We thought you might come," my mother said. "We've talked about it, all of us." The words hit like glass, breaking all of us, Vivin, after you told her what? "You found—" I couldn't move. My jaw clenched so hard it clicked. "You knew we didn't do anything," my father said quickly. "We just agreed to what my mother didn't flinch, that Chloe needed it more." Ruby stood up. Her hands were shaking now. "You helped her take it from me." "No one took anything," my mother snapped. Voice rising for the first time, it stayed in the family. That's when I stood too. It didn't stay in the family. It was stolen. She was devastated, my father said. We knew you'd take it badly, so we didn't say anything. She's not as strong as Ruby, my mother added. We thought Ruby would understand. And Ruby made a small sound like laughter without joy. So you just let her lie. We didn't want this to get ugly. My father said, You involved the police. What did you think would happen? I thought I said that I'd find out who betrayed us. You already knew, my mother said. I looked at her. Really looked, and something inside me shut off like a switch. We left without finishing the pancakes that night. I blocked their numbers, all of them. No speeches, no text, goodbyes. I just hit the button and watched the screen go clean. Ruby didn't speak for hours. Then she opened the family group chat, scrolled until she found the last message from my dad. Some meme about family loyalty. She uploaded 4 files, screenshot of the withdrawal email, screenshot of the call. Log, a still frame from the security video, and a short message. Chloe sent the email from my phone. Vivian helped our grandparents knew this is what happened. You can believe it or not, but this is what happened. She didn't wait for a response. We both knew we wouldn't get one. The university still hadn't responded. Ruby was called in twice more for follow-up clarification. The start of term was 5 days away. We had nothing. No scholarship, no financial aid, no fallback plan. It's not even about the money anymore, Ruby said one night. It's the fact that they looked at me and decided I wasn't worthy. I didn't know how to answer because she wasn't wrong. 2 days before orientation, I got a message. It was quiet, discreet, from a cousin I hadn't spoken to since a funeral. I saw what Ruby posted. I forwarded it to someone. I hope that's okay. It was more than okay. It was the only thing we had left. The following afternoon, we got the call. I'm calling from the Hope Bridge Foundation. We've reviewed Ruby's story. We'd like to fully cover her tuition, effective immediately. I didn't cry, at least not right away. Not until I hung up. Not until I turned and saw Ruby curled up on the couch, arms wrapped tightly around her knees. You're in, I whispered. She looked up at me like I'd spoken in another language. We did it. No, I told her. You did. The next morning, she zipped her bag and stood by the door. I really thought they broke me, she said. I looked at her, exhausted but unshaken, steady and strong. Then look at yourself now. The investigation moved quickly. Within weeks, Chloe was formally charged with computer misuse, identity theft, and academic misconduct. The university expelled her and voided the scholarship altogether, pending final outcomes, but effectively done. She was barred from receiving any future academic funding. Her name was added to a list no parent ever wants to see. And then came the twist no one saw coming. During her questioning, Chloe cracked. She confessed it hadn't been her idea. It was her mother's, Vivian. Vivian, who once claimed she'd do anything for her daughter. Apparently, she wasn't lying. She was found guilty as well, sentenced to community service, slapped with a heavy fine, and placed on 1 year of probation. In court, she cried, spoke about damage to her reputation she chose to protect instead of the truth. As for Chloe, she was assigned to clean the downtown bus terminal every Saturday. Ruby and I saw her there once. She never looked up. We walked right past her. Ruby's original scholarship was never reinstated. But in the end, she received something even better. Now she's on campus, not hiding, not shrinking. She tutors 2 evenings a week, joined the debate team, and already received an invitation to a summer research project. Sometimes when I watch her across the kitchen table, I catch glimpses of something returning, like a match just beginning to light, confidence, joy, strength. She still doesn't bring up her aunt or grandparents, and I don't press. No contact, completely. I never sent a goodbye. I blocked every one of them. Sometimes silence says more than words ever could. They thought they could erase her future. Turns out all they did was write the ending to their own story. So you tell me, did I go too far or not far enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe.